Um, okay, so I'm feeling pretty good. My app's coming along. I'm just kind of thinking ahead 10 steps. What if I want to get a job in iOS? I mean, you work at Vimeo, and you had an interesting story. It's been like 4 years that you've been developing iOS code.
Yeah.
So like a long time, but also not too long. I mean, it's like
Sure.
it's not like you've been here for like 20 years. Well, it's new, right?
True.
So,
Yeah.
so what if I wanted to go and do the next step? What would you recommend? I guess from like a person, you know what I mean? Like, what do I do as like a person to take more classes?
That's a good question.
Do I like build a million apps? Do I apply right now? What do I do?
I always think it's really helpful if someone comes in the door having worked on a number of projects. So it could be things that you yourself are just interested, I have an idea about something that I think might be fun or interesting to play with. Even if it never makes it to the App Store.
Like the app we're making. It's like, it's
Exactly.
fun and it's kind of useful. It's like something you can use with your friends, but it's not necessarily going to make you like, I mean, maybe, but like $1 million. It's just like something we're doing to learn, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to read about the stuff, but reading about code is really, really boring sometimes.
Right.
And
you have to learn, and you have to
learn by doing.
Learn and do.
So the more you have like done, and it doesn't have to be like a world-class app or something that's even live, but you learn a lot, you absorb a lot, and you have to explore nuances of things as you build them. And I think that's probably the number one, like most valuable
Just put yourself out there. And I mean, that was my experience learning to code myself. I did a lot of like PHP and Rails stuff over the past like 10 years. And there were so many projects that I had to make where I was like, I have no idea how to do this.
Yeah.
And I felt crazy because I'm like, staying up at night, or I'm like asking friends or whatever I have to do. And it feels so foreign, but then there's this kind of eureka moment when you're like, yeah, I figured that was me.
Exactly.
This, right?
Yeah.
So I imagine that iOS is the same way. It's just putting yourself out there and like.
Yeah, I still feel that way. Something will hit my doorstep, and I'm like, holy moly, I have no idea how to do this.
Yeah.
But because I've had no idea how to do a bunch of things, and I actually did them, I'm pretty sure I can figure this out.
You have confidence to do it. So, and confidence is like an invisible thing, right? It's like you can't. It's just, but it's something over time. So fake it until you make it, right?
Something like that. Yeah. I mean, when I started, I had an idea for an app that I wanted to build, and I thought it was going to become like $1 million thing. And I ran out of money, and I couldn't just drop it, because that would mean saying like, I spent all this time building this thing, but I never actually built the thing. I wouldn't have anything to point to.
I get it.
So I changed it. It was supposed to be a Facebook game, and I built it as an iOS app, and that's how I learned iOS. And
cool.
in the course of building it, I ran into a lot of things where I just got stuck and was like, holy moly, I have no idea how to move past this point.
Were you by yourself building this?
After a little while, like a substantial part of it, I was by myself, which meant that I had to find people who could answer my questions. And I started going to meetups, and eventually I identified a few people who we just clicked, we got along, they had more experience than I did, and they were okay with answering my questions from time to time. And I was a huge pain in the ass. I would ask them like way more questions than they probably wanted to answer.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Because when you're learning too, like you may have friends that do this, but the community is amazing, right? And I don't know about iOS because this is all new to me, but with Rails, with the WordPress community, things that I'm familiar with, like I'll post something sometimes on Stack Overflow or IRC chat or wherever you have to go, and people will respond and help you out, and it's really amazing. And I've always tried to be, I don't know if you have to be, but I always try to be like if they give me advice, I try to do the advice and then reply, and like, I don't know, I want to make them feel like I listened to them and did the thing. All I'm saying is like, don't be sloppy and just start like asking 1,000 people. I think eventually people will get burnt out on you, but yeah, if people want to help other people, and if they see potential, I guess is the word, and you contribute, as soon as you get better. I mean, you're probably pretty good right now with what we're doing. To go answer some basic Stack Overflow. If you're contributing, it all kind of helps, rounds it out.
Yeah. So I think doing projects. It's a great way to learn stuff. Finding people who can answer your questions, like us. But there are other people out there.
More people, not just us.
That doesn't scale, right?
No, I mean, I like it, but it's like, I'm sorry, but sometimes I have to sleep.
What's your home phone number?
My home phone number. One time I gave out my phone number. Oh, okay. If you take the HTML class, my home phone number is, or my cell phone number is in the class.
Oh man.
At one point,
Yeah.
and some students have it, but I shouldn't say this, but I've only received one call ever.
That's amazing.
I was like, I'll just put it up, and then if anyone calls me, I'll take it down. But literally, I've only got one call ever, so I feel pretty good about it. It's basically if you're having so much trouble that you can't do anything else, call me, and I'll talk you through it.
Was it a good question?
Well, no, it's just like when you're like giving up. It's like the giving up question.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I only got one call, and I was kind of thrilled. I was like, yeah, what's up? But seriously, only if you're, because like, I know now, like, what's up? All right, cool. I feel good about that though.
Okay.
Something's floating in my beer. I'm drinking anyway. All right, well, cheers, dude.
I put that in.
Thanks for coming by tonight.
Oh, it's an XIB file.
It's a nib. It's a kib.